Welcome to Quebec Homestead. Over the past 4 years, my family and I have been living in the mountains of Quebec, Canada.
When I see this, I see everything and I look at my life. We are truly blessed.
We deal with a very short growing season here. We care for our animals, and we renovate this run-down 200-acre property. Trust me, it has been no easy task. But we move forward one season at a time. As we say goodbye to this year's growing season, I take with me so much more knowledge going forward, and I will share some of this with you today as I go through this massive harvest.
Hey everybody, welcome to Quebec Homestead. I am in my garden and I am emptying the whole thing today, almost the whole thing. I am getting all my pumpkins out, all my leeks, all my squash that I have left in the garden. At least these can store a little longer, so I don't have to transform them right now. But all my tomatoes and my cucumbers and my peppers, all that has to go and get out. So the stuff in the tunnel can stay for a little while longer, but everything that's in the garden, the frost is coming real soon. So I figured I'd do a harvest, like just a seasonal harvest video to show you guys everything that I've harvested. I'm gonna mash it all into one video, even though it's gonna be on a few days. I figured I'd go that way for this year. Alright, so I came in here yesterday in the tunnel and I harvested about 80 pounds of tomatoes, and I actually have footage of that.
This will be the last call. This will be the last call. This will be the last call. 20 minutes, you're done being alone.
It smells so good in here. Holy. Oh ho ho ho. There are just so many tomatoes on these Repeco tomato plants. It's amazing. I had to go back inside, bring in my cherry tomatoes. Now it's time for these guys. I swear, the plant right in back of me that I just harvested, if I harvested like 30 or 40 pounds, I wouldn't be exaggerating off of that plant alone. So it's just been incredible. I'm going to definitely have some spaghetti sauce with my own tomatoes. I love it. You know how many years I've been working for this? That's not even. I've been growing tomatoes for a few years now and never have I had this many. I'm just so happy and overjoyed with this and so blessed. Man, God is good. God is good. He provided all the tools for me to be able to have this. Oops, I just said a bad word. My harvest bag snapped and everything fell. Oh my gosh, it's so heavy. These are, I'm gonna have to go weigh this now and figure out another way to pick up all these. I'm probably gonna have like a 50-pound harvest today. Looks as if it's gonna rain, so I'm gonna just take a break from the tunnel real quick and start harvesting everything that's outside. An important thing to know is that when your tomatoes are red and it's gonna rain, you gotta pick them, because or else they're just gonna split. They're just gonna explode with water and split. So I'm gonna do that and try to race the weather. I made it back in the tunnel. I went so fast and now the sun is like coming out, so I don't know if it's gonna rain, but anyways, this bag is gonna be pretty heavy too. Oh Lord. Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. So as you guys saw, I preserved about 50 pounds of those tomatoes, and I still have a good 40, and I harvested some more today because every time I come out here there's just more red tomatoes, and so it's gonna be go time for sure. Okay, so I got a few of them that have bottom rot on this plant only, so I have to figure out what plant this is. Some varieties are really worse for that. So like this whole plant has it all, and that's a lack of calcium, but some plants are really worse than others for this. This one looks like it was starting to get it too. There's one, I think this was a Muscovich actually. So I don't know if it's the only ones that I have, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that the end ones were Muscovich. They were really highly recommended by a few YouTubers. I guess that didn't do well for me. That's okay. Oh wow. That one is nice. Beautiful. Hi, chicken. Hi. How are you? Oh, did you find an earthworm? Yeah. Yummy, yummy snacks, huh? Yummy, yummy snacks? Yeah. I got pretty much all of the orange pumpkins out of the garden, which really surprised me too, because I really didn't think that I had pumpkins underneath all this foliage, but I did. So that was a beautiful surprise. So I'm gonna go put them in the greenhouse. I took all my cucumbers out and I'm gonna go cure them. I'm just gonna lay them down so they can cure for at least a week in the sun before bringing them in. And that'll give them a nice little boost for them to be able to preserve themselves a little longer. These are just Jack Sprat pumpkins, and they're really, really good, and they're so sweet. They make really good pumpkin pies and soups and stuff like that, and muffins, just really, really good for that. And I'm just so happy that I have so many. Me that thought there was gonna be none. Anyways, I can still have some really, really big ones in the garden. They're like, I think I have like a knucklehead variety that have like lumps on it, and they're really cool looking, but they're still really green. So I know that if I do harvest them before it freezes, I could have them in the tunnel for a few weeks for them to just give them a little boost to ripen off a little bit, but we'll see how that goes. I need to go get my delicata squash too and set it all in here. The tomatoes from the outside are wanting to come inside, but you know what I might do with these tomato plants? Since probably in a few days it's gonna freeze, I'm gonna come cut them off at the base of the plant and hang them upside down in the tunnels to hopefully those tomatoes will be able to get red like that. I've heard that works. I feel like trying it because I don't feel like having a whole bunch of green tomatoes inside the house. Cross my fingers that it works. It's not a bad harvest for 3 plants. I think there were like 3 plants in one little pot, and I planted them together. So I just left them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 of them. So yeah, that's pretty good.
I've heard a story, I've heard it said, I've come to believe that love is a bet. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and sometimes it calls you right in the mood. Come to my table, come to my bed, go easy my hunger, easy my head, bringing me fire, bringing me water, taking me high, taking me down. Give me your pretty, give me your messy, give me your happy, give me your sad. I may be staying, I may be going, I may be left, I may fall apart.
Well, Mama's had a big day. This is my last harvest of the day. This is my leeks. So I just washed them off and cut them in the garden, and I'm ready to weigh them. I'm gonna probably make some potato leek soup out of it and can it all. I got a lot of potatoes this year, so I gotta figure out a way to preserve them as much as I can, since I'm not gonna be doing a big garden next year, so I really wanna do something good with them. 6 pounds, 3 ounces. Ooh, 6 pounds, 3 ounces, or 2.5. Okay. Yep, I got my work cut out for me. Looks like I lied. I actually have a lot of garlic that I need to cut up and trim. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna burn them at the same time as I have like a few things to burn, so I'm just gonna pop it in the barrel, cut them, burn them. I think I'm gonna sleep like a baby tonight. All right, kids are almost here, so I'm going to start prepping dinner, but first I have to go feed the bees. So now I'm gonna end the video, and I'll see you in another day. 'Cause it's a never-ending story.
During the month of October in my part of Quebec, it is officially the wear a sweater in the morning and regret it in the afternoon weather. We can sometimes wake up to a blanket of white on the ground and do the morning chores in a winter coat. Then in the afternoon, we just can't bear the heat and we end up taking off all the layers. There tends to always have one thing that is constant in October though. The harvests are abundant. A lot of people will ask me, Mallory, isn't it hard to grow food in your climate? Well, in my experience, it isn't too challenging to grow the food here. The challenging part is that everything comes to maturity at the same time. And as much as I hate to admit it, I do have a confession to make. I absolutely love growing food. It brings me so much joy. But then when the harvest time comes, I have such a hard time to motivate myself to transform it all. We have beautiful fall weather here, and I spend so many of these beautiful days inside the house cooking and canning when I could be outside working or doing something more fun like horseback riding, spending quality time with my family. You know, we even had these beautiful days that we could have went out with the boat and gone fishing. I do sometimes feel like a slave to my own homestead come fall. It is a very big sacrifice to grow and preserve your own food, and it's something I needed to talk about because yes, it is amazing to have all this homegrown food, but feeling like a slave to your homestead in the harvest months is a very big reality on many homesteads.
It's finally time to harvest my potatoes. It's actually a little bit later than I usually would. It frosted these past 2 nights, and so everything is underground in potatoes, so I'm not really worried about it, but I was waiting for a nice sunny day so that they can cure in the sun, and finally we got a nice day. There's nothing really left in here. I harvested everything that was not frost resistant. So now the potatoes, I have 4 beds of potatoes. I don't know how much I'm gonna get out of it. I'm expecting buttloads of potatoes. So as promised, here it is. These are the potatoes that I left in the ground. This whole bed are the potatoes that I left in the ground all winter last year. So I did a test in my last video that I did last year that I harvested all these potatoes, and I decided to leave them in the ground just to see if they would reseed themselves, and they did. They actually did very well. Now I'm just gonna see what it looks like. I didn't weed these at all. As you guys see, this is the theme of my garden this year. I did not weed anything. We'll see how many I can get out today, because I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this all by myself today. We'll see. When I come to harvest my potatoes, I want to make sure that I have a pretty dry surface to put the potatoes on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some dry hay, and I'm going to lay it all down beside where I'm going to harvest the potatoes, and then I'm going to lay all my potatoes onto the hay. And so that's going to be nice and dry because everything is really wet. I just went in there for 2 seconds just to get a few, like the lay of the land and see if I need any tools. And yeah, so my hands are going to be very wet and cold. That's like something about the autumn in Quebec, that it's beautiful, right? All the leaves change colors, but it's cold and very wet. So I'm gonna go get that, and then I'm gonna start harvesting them all. I should have put hay down here during the summer, but with everything that happened, I just ran out of time. The potatoes that I left in the ground last fall are medium-sized potatoes. Why do I say tomatoes? I think it's just because I harvest my tomatoes right before I do my potatoes. I think that's why I mix them up all the time. So I'm just about done this whole bed of potatoes, and I left a little patch of borage that I have in this bed that it just reseeded on its own. And I've had a few people ask me, why do I keep borage in the garden? And like, what do I use it for? And though there are many medicinal uses for borage, and you can use the whole plant, the leaves, so the flowers, everything. I didn't plant it out, it just reseeded on its own. And I see a whole bunch of bees. Even though we are in the beginning of October, there are bees still getting the nectar and pollen from the plant. So I'm just leaving it there for them. That's pretty much why I have it in the garden this year, and I'm leaving it there. Look, it frosted already and they're still surviving and thriving here, so might as well just leave it here for them. So I already mentioned that I am taking a break in the gardens next year because I have to concentrate on the building of the greenhouse, and if I'm in the garden full time, then it's not very productive on the construction side. So what happens in the fall is that Ben and I, we have to split tasks. So he's out in the woodlot and he's finishing the firewood alone, and I'm in the garden alone. So it's not very productive on each end. So what I think will be best for next year is that we're gonna work a lot more together. So you guys are gonna see a lot more of Ben come, like after the harvest time, we're gonna be working more together. We noticed that we thrive a lot more as a couple when we work together as well, because like we always try to pull on each other. Like, hey, come help me do this, come help me do that. But if we were to work together, I think it would be a lot better for a lot of reasons. I'm just about halfway done my second bed of potatoes, and there's a nice good amount more of potatoes in here. So I'm really excited to be able to share, like see all of them stacked one next to each other. I don't know what time it is now. I don't think I'm going to be able to get them all done in the same day because it's 11:30. I have to go eat, for them to dry out in the sun. I might do this in 2 days. It might be a 2-day process, but I'm definitely going to at least weigh these two out today and then come back maybe tomorrow to finish them off. All right, it's time to pick up the potatoes. They've been curing in the sun for just about, I would say, 3 hours, and they're all dry now. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get the biggest ones out, weigh them, and then I'm going to come back in for a second round for the small ones, and then I'll be able to make sure that I have pretty much the same size in my bag, so that if I want to do French fries, I'll have bigger ones, and then if I want to do like just smaller things with smaller potatoes, then they're all nice and sorted out. And then I'm going to plop them in my cold room. My dog wants to eat the neighbors. This is a nice size right there. So the difference what I did this year when I planted out my potatoes was, instead of planting them out a little bit earlier with a little smaller spud, I planted them out, but they had like a really long spud. So I just completely buried it, and some of them I took off, I snapped them off, some of them I left them on. So I think in this one here, there's a lot more smaller potatoes versus the ones that I left in the ground last fall. They're a lot less abundant, but they're much bigger. So, I mean, it's another really cool test I think that I was able to do here. But I don't know, next year I'm not going to do as many, that's for sure. With the break from the garden, trying to make things a little bit easier on myself next year. It's a lot of work doing potatoes. And I know why, like the market gardeners, they don't usually have potatoes in their garden, because it's not a very productive, money-wise crop. But, we're lucky that we don't have to depend on selling the produce to put a roof over our heads, So we can do it, but I'm definitely going to take a little break next year on the size. And my gosh, I'm not even like 6 feet in, and I already have to go weigh these out almost. There's so many of them. So I'm just sorting smaller, bigger, smaller, bigger. Going through like 2 feet at a time. Oh my gosh, okay. Yep. I'm guessing that's about like at least 40 pounds right there. And I don't even have like 3 feet done. Let's go weigh this. I might have to tie it up or something for it to stay on here. Oh no, it works. Okay. So 14.6, 14 pounds, 6 ounces. And then, let's see, 22 pounds, almost 10 ounces, 22. All right, so I'm gonna have to literally turn this on and off every time I come weigh it because I don't wanna run out of battery or mic battery either. So I will come back every time I weigh it. Wish me luck. Made the bags a little bigger this time. I think. Anyways. All right, it's not on the ground. 28. $25 I just put this one down here. I thought it was filming, but it wasn't. 34 pounds, 34.7.5. These ones are really big, actually. And they're really nice, beautiful. Yes. Ouais. Bienvenue. I still got maybe like one more load to do. So I don't know how much that is so far, but it's quite a good amount. 40 pounds, 4 ounces. That was a really big bag. I got one more left. So it was just about 200 pounds just in those 2 beds, huh? It's a lot. All right. Last one. Last one. It's at 0. It's a little bit of a mix, white, red, and many sizes. 24 pounds. 24 pounds, 3.5. How much did that give me? I have no idea. I'm gonna go calculate that inside. And then tomorrow I'll be more organized. I'll have a little paper and I'll write it all down when I do it. And then I'll be able to continue this tomorrow and tell you exactly how many I have. So there goes tomorrow. So I don't know exactly how many potatoes I just harvested and pulled from the ground since I didn't do the count yet, but this is how much that amount looks like. I got all these bags full. This here and this here, all full. So I'm gonna do a lot of potatoes, lots of French fries. That's gonna be on the menu this winter, a lot. I'm gonna can some up too. I got some leeks out of the garden. I'm gonna can some of those too. Season's not over yet. Let's bring this in the cold room. Welcome to the final day of potato harvesting. It's almost one of the last things that I get to harvest before closing the garden. Yesterday I harvested 187 pounds of potatoes. So I think today we're gonna have a little bit less. The ones that I planted in these 2 beds were, I would say, smaller size tomatoes. Potatoes. I just keep on saying tomatoes again.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. What?
Today I harvested 1,000 pounds of firewood.
Yeah. Ben's doing the firewood right now behind me. As I mentioned yesterday, we have to split tasks because it's just too much work on his back in the garden, and you know, he does what he can on his side and I do what I can on my side. So I'm gonna lay this hay down, same thing as yesterday, and start harvesting. It's supposed to be 17 degrees Celsius today. So I'm gonna also have to go out to my beehives and do a last flash treatment for the varroa. So while all my potatoes are drying, I'm gonna go do that. Should get these done in about, I'd say just about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Another season passed. Take a good look, because this season will only be seen once and lived once. Stop time for just a few seconds and soak it all up, because this time next year, as you say farewell to the season once again, everything will be changed. From the trees growing taller to yourself aging. Take this time to look back and reflect on what you can do better next year. I know I will. No regrets.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too.